Greetings from itsdiff. This is Srinivasa. Today, it's a great pleasure and honor to welcome our friend Prabhu on this It's Different leadership series again. And also, along with us, we have our new guest who is all known to all our Harvard Business School team, HBAP team, is none else than Jennifer. So, Jennifer Bangoura. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. And so today's topic is going to be coping up with a career during COVID-19. And thanks for joining us on this Memorial Day. And we take the great opportunity on the Memorial Day to mark as a mark-up salute to all the medical professionals, not just warriors, military warriors and soldiers and all, but also the people who are in the front line who are just supporting. I mean, you can say the folks in the cleaning, folks in the distribution, folks who are in the special care, who are just helping all the needy people, putting their life at risk. So we take the opportunity to salute them. And at the same time, we wanted to just have a session here to talk about career as part of the leadership series. In this case, the COVID-19, the coronavirus situation has impacted lots of people in a negative way. They lost their jobs, a lot of unemployment's created as well. And in some situations, the reduced hours of employment also for some sectors, irrespective of whichever sector it is, right? And also, there are some folks who are kind of like on the fence here. So they wanted to know what's going to happen to me in this chaotic situation. So we would like to have a discussion here for the next an hour, I would say, to talk about what options do we have in terms of networking, job search, and skills enrichment. So before we get started and open up this forum, we would like to read about the profiles of our panel here. First is Jennifer. Jennifer is a senior career coach at 2U Incorporation, a global leader in education technology. Jennifer collaborates with internal teams and university career center partners to amplify career support for students so they can achieve their career outcomes, which is super important. There's always somebody to guide there. She holds a BA in art history and French from the University of Mary Washington, and MA in internal education from the SIT Graduate Institute, and is currently pursuing her Ed.D. in organizational change and leadership from the University of Southern California. I believe it's a doctorate program powered by 2U. So very, very impressive profile, Jennifer. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, and then we will talk, we'll reintroduce Prabhu to our audience. In fact, we both had a session last week about virtual meeting, the etiquettes. So let me just read. He's BS and MBA from Coimbatore, resident of California for the last 22 years. He has got over 30 years of worldwide experience in business development, channel marketing, product management, recruiting and mentoring in software and consulting industry. Active volunteer for nonprofit organizations, including Sankarai Foundation, and is an advisor and mentor to startups. A proponent of positive thinking and good karma activities. He always supports our endeavors here. Very familiar with social media marketing for business and philanthropic activities. And just a little bit brief about me. I'm an MBA from India and recently completed my Harvard Business School. Very proud to clear that with a distinction from which is called HBAP, and with a great teaching and stuff from our great professors on business analytics. And also I did more recently an edX course on the entrepreneurship from take idea to market, which was you could have seen Professor Vish Krishnan today in our earlier session. So that's a wonderful thing. Also a PMI and Seagate governance in enterprise IT and information systems auditor, and doing program management for a leading manufacturing company in the Bay Area. Producer of talk shows, also a public speaker and facilitator. So that's a little bit about me. So I think it's without much ado, let me just dive into the topic here. Folks who are joined from on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch, and whatnot, and via LinkedIn as well. thank you so much for joining today. And we will also be able to take questions from you momentarily. So first, let me get started with Jennifer, and to just finger on what exactly is happening in this chaotic situation. Is that something really we have to worry, or is it like a temporary setback which is going to revive? What's happening there?
Yeah, it's definitely, I think the key word that when we were talking about this before is chaotic. And what I use when I am approaching career coaching is chaos theory of careers by a man named Jim Bright and Robert Pryor. And it really underscores what we're experiencing now, which is uncertainty. And that's can be how a lot of people feel about their career paths, even when there's not a pandemic. So career paths are no longer linear. It's not an ABC leading, this degree leads to this job, leads to this outcome. And so we really need to sit in the uncertainty and embrace it. Which can be difficult to hear and to do, but there are certain ways that this great framework, and I Shri, if you're able to share with folks a link to a really great blog post that outlines this chaos theory of careers. There are things that people can be doing now, whether you are unemployed, underemployed, or thinking, my job maybe isn't impacted now, but I want to be setting myself up for the future. They lay out this explore, prepare, start, and adapt series of different things that you can do to learn about yourself, and then also learn about different opportunities that exist. I don't know the exact percentage, but is it something that in the next 10 years, 10 years from now, maybe 60% of the jobs that don't exist now. So you really need we need to be embracing the uncertainty and being able to adapt is what I think is super important right now. Oh, I can't hear you, Shri. I think you're on mute.
Yeah. Want us to be with an open mind, I would say, to just be aware of what's happening around. And yes, the situation is not really the way the people wanted it, but again, you ought to tap into all your resources and stuff. So that's a good start. So let's go to Prabhu for his comments on this as well. So Prabhu, what are your thoughts, please?
Yeah, I think this is a very unprecedented situation, also unprecedented times. So nobody would have thought a few things a couple of months back would have transformed the way or put us in type of situation. We will be working most of the time from home, and some of the companies have announced even till October or end of the year, people would be working home. So there are a lot of ways we have to retool ourselves, reconnect with peer groups who could help us. And I think I feel this is a good time that not feel very satisfied with what we have or what we are exposed to or what we are qualified, but use this chance to network with people from the industry. What are the other areas or other technologies which we could learn about, or if we are in the hands-on areas, then how to get into leadership, how to improve or get certified in terms of program management, project management, or any agile certification, like various different things which you could think of to go up in your career, and if necessary, take help from coaches, career coaches like Jennifer, and seek professional help, because a lot of times when you are in the actual work situation, you don't get time to plan for a lot of this. A lot of time is spent on commuting or traveling to meet your clients and other things. So this is a good time to regroup, think, and give a pause and restart.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So Jennifer, I mean, sounds like this is one challenge that we all have got, right? Especially for those who are staying in employment, because what if any situation happens to them because of this future occurrence? We don't want that, but as a few folks have observed, history repeats, right? What this has happened 100 years ago. So the question is how one can prepare themselves, because this is something in this disruptive economy. What one has to do is continuously exploit and explore. You just exploit what you have and explore new ways of it's like an undercurrent which has to go. So would you please comment on that?
Yeah, so I think what I think a lot of people can feel right now, if you're feeling vulnerable or like either your career's in jeopardy or maybe you have lost your job already, it can feel like Adam talks about a lot where you have givers and takers. So you can feel like right now, oh, I'm a taker, and maybe you're really leaning hard on your network, you're asking for referrals, but at the same time, while we are takers and asking for support and help from our network, it's a great time to also think about how can I also be giving. And so while you might need support, I'm sure there are ways that either, whatever your expertise is, whatever your work you were doing before, someone else might be interested in that, might want to know about what your career path has been, or even just the idea of, helping out and being part of your community right now. I think more than ever, what COVID-19 is showing us is how interconnected we all are, and the importance of really staying connected, and not only in times of need and crisis, but filling that proverbial well before you need to drink the water. And so if I may share like a couple ways, I think it can feel abstract. Okay, like, well, how do I find these people? How do I give? How do I take? How do I tap into these networks? And for me, I'm a career coach, so I love LinkedIn, but I really do think LinkedIn is such a rich tool. It's not just for your online resume. It's not, people might think, oh, is it just about self-promotion or making posts and things? Really, it's just such a rich research tool. So if there's a keyword of an area that you're interested in, or a geography or a location that you're interested in pursuing, you can use all of the different filters by just putting words and words in that top search bar, and then filtering by either location, your degree connections. And that's the importance of building out your first degree connections, so that then you could say, oh, well, I see Shri, and Shri, would you be willing to put me in touch with Prabhu? Because I'd love to learn about what his career has been like. So that's what I get really excited about, are those second degree connections on LinkedIn. So yeah, that's it. That's my thoughts.
Yeah. So one thing before we get to Prabhu, one thing I heard is one of our colleagues mentioned, you know what, I wanted to pick my next job. I want to pick my next title, next career path. So what I look at is, I want to become a CTO one day. I want to become, the VP of program management. I wanted to just manage the operation stuff. So the question here is, just go and find out similar folks who are in that title and see what all they have accomplished in terms of the certifications, or the experience, affiliations, and things like that. So that way you get to know and you prep yourself for what are the 10 things or top 5 things that is needed for that particular position, so you can really groom yourself towards that. That's something I saw a pretty good takeaway. And the second point, Jennifer, you mentioned about is, you don't always look at you take something from somebody. Always question of also open it up to give, because sometimes that which itself will open up opportunities.
Right.
My friend Rajesh always says that you don't feel like you are the person who can do everything, you can help everybody. I mean, don't waste somebody else's time. If you think you can help, you help. If you don't, then you can say, I'm sorry, but I can point you to somebody who can help you. There's a difference there, right? So it's like the fear of saying no, and at the same time, from a recipient side, when you hear a no, you can ask the next question and say, can you please help somebody, like you said, in your network, in your second or third? Maybe can you just intro to that person, right? Yeah. Prabhu, please, your thoughts.
Yeah, I wanted to briefly touch upon the area what Jennifer spoke about, not only taking but also giving. Here, lot of times people are shy to come and ask help because they don't know whether they'll get a no for an answer. So what we should do is, if we are in a position to help, and there are some areas which we are confident, or we are very skilled, or we have got very good experience, we can volunteer, say that these are the areas I'm ready to help, and I'll be available between so and so time. Anybody who needs any mentoring or any coaching, please feel free to reach me through these channels, and or we can meet up. Of course, right now we cannot meet up, but we can do a virtual meeting, and I can support you on the phone, or I can help you brush up your resume, or redo various other aspects of your cover letter, or like offer whatever you can help them with, and help them do a certification exam. Then they will be more than be able to understand that, and lot of times they would remember that, and they would refer some more people to you if you are in this area as a professional coach or professional career counselor. And it's a word of mouth referral which will fetch you a new position, or networking generates your next offer, or various efforts.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu, for that insight and the offer to help. Okay, that's all we all need. And I do get questions, because even I'm getting help when I also take an opportunity to help mentor a couple of students, and say, is that the right thing to do? And I say, this is what I did in the given situation. Possibly you can help. So Jennifer, I mean, this is something your favorite cup of tea. So the first thing in the last 10-15 minutes we talked about is, okay, it's not just about taking, but giving. And it's a question of not hesitate, but ask. And if not in the direct network, but you can also ask within the network, whatever. So some of the key takeaways. I know you shared a link, so I just shared it to our folks, our audience here. Audience, please look at the chat box. I posted the link that is presented by Jennifer. So Jennifer, you want to talk about that, please? And what should people, where do they start? That's always a starting trouble for folks. Where do they start?
Well, I think it's interesting. So you mentioned that somebody says, ultimate at my end, I want to be a CTO of a Fortune 500 company. And that's a great, very specific goal. And what I would want to talk about with a student is, well, tell me more. Tell me why. Why do you want to be a CTO? What is it about being a CTO that is attractive to you? And to really break down, is it the technology aspect? Is it the problem solving? Is it the relationship building? And thinking about the specific components of a job rather than focusing solely on a job title. Because for one, I mean, maybe a CTO is a pretty specific one, but for a lot of other titles, maybe they don't, between companies, it'll be a different situation or different title. What I would advise, and I heard Meg Garlinghouse, who's the head of social impact at LinkedIn, I heard this, she shared this on a webinar the other day, that I think one of the single, maybe most underutilized, but really interesting things that you can do on LinkedIn when you click into someone's profile is to go to see all activity. You can click on articles, posts, or all. And so to go ahead and click on the posts of somebody that you would admire and see what kind of things they've been posting about, or maybe you'll see what all of the posts that they've liked or they've commented on. And then you start to get an understanding of the things that are important to them or interesting. When somebody reaches out and says, I'd like to learn more about your company. If they reach out to me, I'd like to learn more about your company. Well, you can find a lot about the company that I work for online. So like if somebody reaches out, like I'd love for our time to be spent more on specific questions and that to get the because it's an investment of their time, it's an investment of my time. And it's not that I don't have the time, but there's a lot of information out there. So I would want somebody to say, hey, I listened to that webinar that you did with Shri, or I listened to this podcast you did, or I saw these posts that you wrote about X, Y, and Z, and I want to know more about that. So really doing the legwork. Again, there's really not that many excuses anymore for saying, oh, I didn't know that was out there. I know that it can be hard to uncover and dig into it, but doing that homework beforehand is really great.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. In fact, when you mentioned about LinkedIn, and I really breathe these days the power of LinkedIn. And one of the things which I like is their short 1.5 minute to 2 minute videos that they do. Oh my God, within that short time, they teach you a lot of concepts, which was very nice. So that was a great thing to share. So I appreciate that part. So one thing is, again, so you don't need to, you can, first of all, you start with your own network and start with your goals and ambitions of which role you wanted to be and things like that. So let me read 2 things here. This is on the current unemployment, because there are what kind of nervous people are right now is, I don't have a job, right? I wish I had some time to look at all these things, but now I want to get to work, right? That's it. Because if you see here, Uber has laid off about a quarter of its workforce, and Lyft is slashing 17%. And then you also hear Airbnb is cutting 25% of its jobs. And you see that nice email that the CEO sent to the people and things like that. It's not you. I mean, all get it right. But the question here is, now again, my question is, I'm a technologist. I'm a program management. I'm an operations person. I'm a, what you can say, like I'm a business analyst for that matter. Now, my question here is, the first challenge that comes in, which industry is safer? Where do I go? That's the first challenge. Because, what if they get into a situation? What kind of a guidance can we offer? It's for both of you. I mean, Prabhu and Jennifer. So whoever wants to go first, I'm fine with it. How do we pick the companies? Because I know I want to get a job. Okay.
Right.
You want to take that?
Yeah. See, somebody's loss is always another person's gain. So I'm observing in the market on the various job openings I'm working on. There is a lot of requirements coming from some tech companies, mainly focused on Java and also AI and other Python-based skills, which is very hard to come by these days. So a lot of these engineers could be reused, or they could be found homes very quickly if they are able to present themselves very well, like make a good resume, and also they have their code or other things updated in places like GitHub, and also have their professional certifications. I think it's very easy to find a job for most of these candidates. And it's again the power of networking and be heard and be known to places, people who are in the hiring circuit, and be be visible in front of the hiring manager. A lot of times, how you write the resume is very important. There's always like theories on whether a resume should be a one pager or a very detailed resume. I've had various different schools of thought, various different formats of resume being floated around, and I've had various talks with the hiring managers. Some people like it very detailed. They would like to go back since your college, then right from your first job to the latest project. Somebody don't want it very detailed. They want very what you have done recently, and what are your achievements. So like you have to get your resume in front of the hiring manager and be heard. So whatever it takes to do that is what we have to get prepared on. And we should not get surrounded by negativity of what's happening. Like we might have got laid off, or the person might be losing a job very soon. But this is the time you go and ask people. Don't feel shy. Expand your network. Reach out to your ex-colleagues. Reach out to your ex-bosses and expand your search. You don't know. Sometimes I always tell, network with people from your faith groups. A lot of churches and other faith group networking always help, because people, they like to help from their own community, and smaller groups, they don't want people to suffer. So that's, I think Jennifer would accept my point of view. As a career coach, she would have faced those kind of situation, and if people, so her tips on networking and other things, she might be able to throw.
Yeah, so one thing before I get to Jennifer, I wanted to share one thing. See, I'm part of PMI, the Project Management Institute, and also I'm a program committee chair for ISACA, which is Information Systems Audit and Control Association. And so one of the things they do in every meeting is, who needs a job? Who is looking out for a job? They just simply openly ask that question, and they encourage people not to be shy, to open up and say, I have the skills. In 2 minutes, get your elevator pitch ready. I'm looking for a job. I have this skill, right? I have this experience, all right? And I was working here, something like that. Get to a short summary, like an elevator pitch. It's about a product, right? Who are you? What are you looking for? And what's your experience? And then they also tell the sponsors and the people, members, and say, is anybody hiring in your organization? You just simply post it. So they just kind of like a meeting point, like you mentioned. So they both do a very good job. So I would recommend, my humble opinion, Jennifer, you can correct me in this case, is you please, if you have not been attending any of your chapter, please do that right now, because this is a great opportunity to do that. It's like once a month or once couple of weeks. So this is a great opportunity to meet and then get to know. And second point I wanted to add is, alumni associations are very strong.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jennifer, please continue. And I would like to get your thoughts as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, so I work at 2U. And as you said, Sri, we partner with top tier universities around the world to put degree programs, professional certificates, boot camps, and short courses online. And an interesting statistics that's come out through Strata Education is that over a third of Americans, over 36% of Americans, plan to change their careers if they lose their job due to COVID-19. And what 2U believes, and I'm not speaking on behalf of 2U, but what some interesting things that I've been seeing put out is that alternative credentials can really be a way to fill that gap. And so looking around, is this the time that you want to pivot in your career? And maybe a way that you can put a toe in the water of, if you're interested in project management or going to user experience, UX research, or something like that, is to do a short course or a certificate program online that you're able to do from home. And so even using LinkedIn Learning, honestly, I mean, some of the courses on there are so rich. To do it in a safe, kind of low stakes way, I would start out by checking out some of the free courses that are on LinkedIn Learning. And then if you think, wow, like this is really exciting to me, I'm really interested, then you would go maybe down the path of looking for people on LinkedIn, just putting in that top search bar, user experience, and maybe the name of a company that you're interested or that you know about that you're working in. And then going from there, honestly, Sri, sometimes I sit and I look around and I'm like, what products do I enjoy using? What apps do I like using? What clothes do I like wearing? What cars do I drive? The things that are important to me, even in just my immediate scope of my life. Look at those companies on LinkedIn and think about, what? I already love this product. Maybe there's something, if any company would have a communications role, a tech team, product management, whatever company it is. That's a fun place to start too. So if people have the bandwidth to be able to take on some additional, I think that LinkedIn Learning can be a great place to start, and then you can move into, maybe more let's see, like where you would get an actual certificate from a credentialed university or accredited university.
Yeah. So for example, I want to touch on that point, which is I've seen Coursera, Udemy, and edX also. There are a lot of places where you can get some courses, and also some of them. One common question is, the folks can feel like, oh, they are not in a job. They wanted to cut down the cost, cut down the expenses that they have. Just spending money again, another $500, $1,000 to do another course is something. It's really not some forthcoming. So what I would recommend from what I've heard people say is also, you don't need to necessarily get a certification. You are only retooling yourself, and then you get to know the nuances so that you can get a certificate. There are places where you can get an audited, you can audit the course. You don't get a certificate. There is a verified or verification where you get a verified certificate that you've done something like that, right? So there are very many options. So my recommendation or something is they could just go check. Thanks for your guidance. Like you said, LinkedIn Learning to you in a lot of places, and you can just go and get to know, learn, and always get certification later. Yeah.
I mean, I think something that's interesting that I've seen a number of people post about is they'll say, well, what about, I'm going to have this huge, and this is something that people had before, right? I'm going to have this huge gap on my resume if you were laid off or left your job or were furloughed. And even in the past, it's true, it is true now. Think about how you can be learning new things in this time, and whether that's something that engaging in your community in a different way through volunteering, or building your skills through some, like this is true lifelong learning. And it's highlighting that the future of work and learning is not static, it's changing. And just like within the chaos theory of careers, we truly need to be able to adapt. And the only way to do that is by continuous learning, is what I believe. And I think it sounds like, I listened, Shri, to your speech that you gave for in your HVAP ceremony about, we don't tax on our education, and that's the only what was it was a beautiful Sanskrit saying that you gave. I thought it was so applicable in thinking about in this current chaotic time how we can continue to grow.
Yeah, it's basically what the Sanskrit sloka is saying. It's called Subhashita. It says that you don't need to pay taxes for the knowledge that you have, and it's not going to be stolen by thieves, and it's not going to be shared with they like an ancestral property. Knowledge is something that the more you support, the more you learn, it grows leaps and bounds to help you for generations. And also the fact that there is no age limit or anything, it's like a continuous learning process. That's kind of what my father taught me from the age-old language of Sanskrit. So I just thought I was sharing. Thank you for remembering, making me remember that. Thank you. Yeah. So Prabhu, your thoughts, please, on this one. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things what we should be prepared to do is sometimes when you want to get into an area where which is in your wish list, sometimes it might take time to retool yourself and get to that target company or target job. But we can always offer to volunteer for startup companies or be part of product development groups or even nonprofits. A lot of nonprofits do have technology requirements, and they do use a lot of latest softwares, and also implement various different new things, or they always need tech help, or if you are not a non-tech person, they sometimes need bookkeeping, accounting, or auditing help. So various process and procedures help. So identify what motivates you and what is the line you want to pursue, and indulge and go and volunteer your time and effort to that. And alluding to the point Jennifer brought out, a lot of times the companies, when they hire you or when they interview for a certain position, they also look at how you have utilized the time in between, and set an example for yourself, and improved yourself over what you were, rather than getting upset and like defending and getting into a negativity situation. So volunteering and contributing to other self-help groups and technology groups or non-profits are some of the points which I can think of, how you fill in the gap as well as get exposure to the areas you want. And again, you have to let know the people that you are available for doing these type of things, and always there is an opportunity for people to make use of your skill or experience.
That's a brilliant suggestion, I would say, Prabhu, because a lot of startup companies and other people, they could leverage your skills, because you can showcase your experience, and then you can be give a lending helping hand, and that gives you an opportunity for you to learn. So that's really good. So I have an open question from Manian on this chat. Thank you, Manian, for asking. Please let us know if we have not touched on this. How could a professional prepare to transform skills in experience to position and targeted cross-industry career path options? Because so is that something you have things to offer here? I can just put this question here for you to read. It's there on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. Well, I think here it's looking at, so if Manyan, if you are seeing a job description at a company, and when they list those top 10 bullets that they're looking for a role, then taking a look, and even LinkedIn will do this for you. Maybe it is only premium, I'm not, but I'll show you, okay, where do your skills align? Do you have these the top skills that they're looking for this job listed in your profile somewhere? And so then it's a time to step back and reflect and say, well, where are my gaps in my skill set, and where do I have areas that I can lean on as strengths? So I think that for that question, it really is focusing on where your growth areas can be, and then identifying, using some of the things that Prabhu and I have talked about in Shri, of identifying professionals in either your alumni network, the LinkedIn tool, if you go wherever you went to school, if you went to college now, even high school has it on LinkedIn. You can search alumni, and you go to that page on LinkedIn, and then on the left-hand side, it says home, about, people, or jobs, alumni. Click on alumni, filter for people, maybe in your geographic location, but right now, really, they could be anywhere. Put in the keywords if it was project management or UX research. I'm focusing on those ones. I put in career services, and then I find people in alumni networks who work in the field that I'm currently in, so I can continue to build out my network and the tools in my tool belt. Yeah, so that's what I would recommend. Prabhu, I'd love to hear what you think too. Sorry.
Yes, Prabhu, your comments, please.
Yeah, my thought process on that would be, instead of too much of diversification from what you have been doing in your past career to a totally different would be too much of a deviation. So I would stick to something related to what you had earlier worked, so that people can identify that, okay, you got experience on these areas from your previous career or previous job, and you transform those things into this new that will be useful in this current career. So that would be my thought process on that. Too much deviation, like you're from the coding and you're completely transforming into a HR role, which I feel, if you are not experienced or you are not certified to do that, like in a HR role, if you are not aware of what your various different compliance processes are, and what are the other tools you use, then I think you would be a beginner in that role rather than like a mid-level or a senior person. So you will feel that you are too junior among the various different people who are working in that specific department which you are trying to get into. If you are okay with that, you could still risk and do that. but I would do the switch in a similar career role or related area.
It's more like saying that what you know, what's your expertise and your skills and background. You are doing a safe bet there to pursue that as a career option, and your network and stuff. But while keeping an eye, it's like look at your near short term goals of what you need to do right now with a long term focus in mind. Making what else can I do? What else can I do? For example, hey, artificial intelligence is pretty good. Data science is pretty good, right? Okay, machine learning is good. So can I just go into all this? But if I have a coding background, yeah, why not? I'm just trying to specialize in those areas, right? To start, because I have a good coding background. I'm going to learn Python. So if I do Python, I'll do very well in data science program on machine learning, the pattern matching and all kinds of algorithms development. So you're right. So basically what I hear from experts, you both, is just focus on what you have and try to develop, build a network around this, and you should be able to willing to talk about it. You should be able to continue to enrich your skills in those areas. That's very, very good.
I'll throw one more example. Last week I was attending a Zoom networking event in another group. Somebody asked me, hey, should I be learning Python and AI? But their core skill was from PeopleSoft. So one of the senior industry experts told, right now, being a PeopleSoft consultant, why don't you retool yourselves on Workday, which is the more hottest thing, and more takers will be, or more employers would be looking at your previous experience in PeopleSoft and that you have moved on into Workday. And I think that was a very good suggestion, and it related very well. So that's one I could think of, which I came across recently.
Okay. So just wanted to read a little service announcement here. Dear listeners, It's Different show. It stands for It's Different News, Views, and Music Show. We do music shows as well. And at the same time, this is a leadership series that you are all part of. And thanks for watching whichever part of the global you are. And the recording of this session will be available immediately after the show. You can always watch it, forward it to your friends whom you think will be useful, because our goal is to, whatever we learned, we care and we share. That pretty much is the concept of itsdiff Productions. And as you know, we are just continuing our trend from the shows from Stanford University, which I started in 2005 as part of the college radio. And now I'm very pleased to bring such a great experienced people like Jennifer, Bangoura, and then we have Prabhu, Venkatesh, Subramanian on the call here. So please continue to keep your comments coming, and also you can reach out to you for any topics of interest, as well as if you want to reach out to itsdiff for any help and other things, just send it to us. And also, I wanted to, tapping into the resume, I wanted to go back to that point for a moment, both Jennifer and Prabhu. I've heard people hiring resume experts to make sure that it's really cut to size and very crisp and clean when they do that. So what do you guys think? I mean, I think, what's your comment?
I like to treat, so some people say, like, who uses resumes? Oh, you don't need them anymore. You can use your LinkedIn. Or there are companies who, you just apply and it's maybe based more on your technical skills. I like to treat the resume as an interview preparation, or even preparing yourself for the job search by organizing your thoughts and organizing what your strengths are that you are bringing to your job search, whatever industry it is. Because if you're able to articulate succinctly your skill set and what you're bringing in a resume, that's going to transfer when you get into an interview and someone says, well, tell me about a time when you experienced a challenging colleague or a difficult project. And then you can refer back to these very specific, tight stories that are found within your resume. Lots of tricks, very problem, action, results focused. And I love, there are two tools that I think are really stellar for resume review. Hiring someone can be great if you really feel like you're starting, you don't know what you're doing, but there's some good, there's ResScore, score that uses AI and machine learning to scan your resume, and it gives you a grade, and it'll show you whether it's on length or white space, that you need to improve the formatting and the content. And then also scan.co. Both of those tools have a certain number of free scans that you can do, and then I think there's a paid subscription beyond by month. But I highly recommend using those. And I really prefer a very simple resume. I don't like lots of graphics. I don't like it gets very complicated. You don't want to have any tables or columns, so that it's applicant tracking system or ATS compliant. So I really prefer a pretty clean, simple layout. Yeah.
So the way you're saying is like, hey, the machine is reading right now, artificial intelligence scanning like tens and thousands of resumes that's coming to you. So you better be careful on what keywords you use and be crisp and clear. So you better take the help of experts to do that. Thanks for the guidance. Prabhu, I just unmute you for a second here. Yeah, Prabhu, so you had great suggestions in terms of the different types of resumes and stuff also. Would you mind sharing a brief insights on that, please?
Yeah, thanks, Sri. I always suggest that even in a regular day-to-day work and over the period of your career, even though you're not looking for a job, it's always a good idea to have a notepad or a notebook. Keep noting down various projects you are involved in, and what are all the key successes and the key failures of each of these projects. Because when it is, and constantly keep updating your resume. So when it is time for you to look for a job, or when it's time to look for a change, at that time, because you are under pressure to get into a new opportunity and get into a good role, you might not recollect or remember what you wanted to convey in that resume, and sometimes you might miss out on some of the great points or the pointers which we wanted to highlight. And another point you have to think and be careful about is most of the time the applicant tracking system or the automatic processes which are involved with this latest HR based software is it parses your resume and it fills the softwares which most of the big companies uses. So you have to be very careful on avoiding graphics and the, as Jennifer mentioned, tabular column. And if you have seen some of the keywords from the job description, is always good to highlight those keywords or jargon in your resume, so that the it gets the attention, or it gets the selection of these because based on the recommendations, what output the softwares or the applicant tracking systems give, then the screening team would then give those resumes for the hiring manager to for the next level of interview. So this automation is something none of us can avoid, because for the volume of the software, the resumes which the companies receive, most of them have gone in for very detailed HRIS softwares, and they definitely use these type of techniques. And we have to be cognizant of that while preparing the resume and focus. And one more thing we have to be very cognizant of is like we have to focus on what are the achievements, what happened during the project or during the span of couple of years, rather than focusing on responsibilities what you handle. Because if you have handled a specific job title, most of the time the interviewing team or the hiring manager would obviously know these are the responsibilities you would have handled. So you have to focus on what was your role in that project or in that specific job title you handle, and what were your achievements specific to that. So those are some of the points which I would take care of while preparing the resume. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think very valuable points. Jennifer, you have a comment there to add to this one? I like what you said also on the LinkedIn. Keep it updated, follow through. And then, to Prabhu, again, it's a continuous process of updating the resume to make sure. And again, back to Jennifer, you mentioned on it's a talking point. So that means be disciplined. Be disciplined to get your resume updated, because that's your first entry point, right? So that's pretty good. And thanks so much for those pointers. So actually, if you look at dear listeners, again, as you see, our this topic is about coping up with career during COVID-19 times, and we have experts here from a mentor and coach, Prabhu, and also we have a senior career coach from 2U, Jennifer, as well on the call. So my other thought process is basically, in summary, network well, and do not hesitate to help others and ask for help, and update your resume. Keep a high career goal, basically. So just have a high career goal as such, where you want to become, and look at somebody's profile in your network, or your second connection, to make sure that you can just look after and follow through and get some you build your network, and also learn new skills, etc. And as you said, alumni is a pretty good thing. Thanks very much. And then finally, we also talked about the faith networks. We talked about the associations like, I gave some examples, PMI, ISACA, but there will be lots of these developer network things. And the startup companies is a good suggestion, where you land up helping somebody, at the same time you land up a job for yourself. So I think some good pointers. So now we are like about few more minutes before we end this session. Particularly, it's very interesting topic to discuss. Are there any other pointers that you would like to give to our listener base here as things to do? Don't forget the first priority or second priority, whatever. Any checklist you want to give?
One of the things which normally we miss out is we don't pay attention, as we are in the industry. We don't pay attention to put or detail which university you came from, or which are the top colleges, or which school you went to. A lot of times there is an affinity from the hiring manager or the person, and they are knowledgeable, even if they're hiring international candidates, which are all the top schools or top companies which are very popular in that space. So no detail is unimportant. So mention very specific things like that, and if you have, you can backlink the websites of the companies or the logos which where you worked. Sometimes they do help. A lot of times I've had candidates go to a specific interview. Oh, you are from so and so, such and such university. Yeah, I'm very familiar with the other candidates who have joined us and be a part of our team. And there is not much of a technical interview they go through, and they just check the skills, and they are through. And one of the other latest things that is happening right now is the video resume. Always you could get a professional recording of what your experience is, and also what are your achievements in the so many years you worked, and what are the key salient features, key takeaway points about you. And you could send a link to your recording or video resume, which is becoming again a very popular thing, because if you are able to articulate yourself to a hiring manager, because a lot of times again, whether you are a team member or a manager or a leader, your communication is very important. And this gives it can speak volumes, because if it is just a written resume and it gets parsed and absorbed into a software, they are not able to understand your personality, what is your body language, a lot of times before they call you for a face-to-face interview.
Thank you very much for that, Prabhu. That's super important. That's a new tip. Just prepare a video resume on this, right? Okay, that's good. So, Jennifer, please, your thoughts on this.
I would say, I think right now how a lot of people are feeling is this, so it's a survival mode, and depending on how situation someone finds himself in, it might be, I really just need to find a job so I can make money to provide, the immediate needs for my family. And while we need to get through survival to get to thrive, survive to thrive, I really want people to think, and I would want people that I would, students that I work with to coach, to think, what steps are you putting in place now for when something like this happens again in the future? Now, I do hope that it's nothing like what we've seen right now, and that we see something of scale, but something else might happen. People will still get laid off in the future. There are no guarantees. And so how are you going to, once you get that next job, make sure you're following up with your network, letting people know, thank you so much, Shri, for taking the time to meet with me and talk with me about your career. I wanted to let you know I ended up getting this job at this place. Now, it might seem it's a very small step, but I think a lot of people fail to do this. And it can be the difference between, it makes a big difference. People will remember that move forward, because maybe Shri would be looking for a job where that person that he helped got a job later on, and then you can end up helping them later on down the line. Regardless, it's just a small detail that I think people appreciate. So in conclusion, or in summary, is thinking about what you learn about yourself and your own job search process in this crisis time, so that you can apply those same tips for the future. Like Prabhu said, I love that. Keeping that resume updated, keeping your LinkedIn profile dusted off. You'll be ready for the next time when you either choose to make a pivot or that choice is made for you.
Yeah. So if I can squeeze in just one more question for you, since you mentioned about LinkedIn, a lot of applications, they ask you about any social network links, because they wanted to know you more. So for that, is it advisable to use Facebook links there, or the Twitter link there, or any other social networking presence into those resumes? Some people I've seen like a hobbies, interests, and social networking presence. Is it really a good idea, or you should only restrict yourself to LinkedIn, because that's more like a professional network, because Facebook get too personal in some cases? So there's always a question that I have in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think?
I would not, but I'm not pursuing social media careers. So if I were working in communications or I worked in social media, yes, I would want to include my Twitter, maybe definitely LinkedIn. And of course, you really need to make sure that you're active on those sites. I've received resumes from students before. Well, they'll include a Twitter or their LinkedIn. The LinkedIn isn't updated. The Twitter, I can see the account was created 10 years ago, and they've made a few political posts that are not relevant to their career. I don't think it's inappropriate if it's relevant to if you're going into supply chain and you on Twitter are super active and engaged with the supply chain community, and that's going to demonstrate to me your thought leadership in that space, yes, please definitely include it. But please send it to somebody to get, if you don't hire a professional, at least send it to a friend to say, hey, what do you think when you see these links? For the LinkedIn, this is a nitpicky thing, but please customize your URL so that you don't have a string of letters and numbers behind I see folks include their LinkedIn URL in their resume, and that's great to include the link, especially if your name maybe is more common. So if, like, my maiden name was Davis. So if someone searches Jennifer Davis, there's thousands. So including a URL there would make sense to go directly to my profile, but not if it has, 14 letters and numbers behind it. So really, yeah, just making sure they're updated and relevant to your job search. And Shri, if I may, on the Facebook thing, I think it's interesting. I have recently been finding a lot of great connections through some Facebook groups that I'm a part of, and connecting with those people on LinkedIn. So I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer, and I'm in a number of these groups where people are making posts about losing their, being evacuated following the Peace Corps, or making requests or saying, I want to work in this industry. And then I if it's something that's relevant to my interests, or I feel like I can help them, I connect with them on LinkedIn, and I've made some really interesting, I think, connections and had some good conversations from that. So thinking a little bit outside the box, if you're not so comfortable in LinkedIn, think about, okay, well, are you connected more with people on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook that you could connect with in a professional setting, context on LinkedIn?
Okay, thank you so much. I think these are all great tips and from experts. Thank you all both, and keep an open mind. I always say that what I read, it should be like a parachute. It works. Mind should be like a parachute. It works only when it's open. Okay, so positive thinking is all what we need. Help others, get helped, and do not hesitate to seek help. And keep up the high spirits, and this too shall pass. So kind of a situation. So I know we are almost reached our 1 hour time here, and this is really brilliant on networking, skills enrichment, and also being resourceful and trying to tap into the full potential of yours and also the others. Mentor, coach, do not hesitate to seek for help. So thank you so much for both of your time today for It's Different show, and appreciate it. We will catch up in our next session on a different topic, and we encourage our audience to please reach out for any feedback, comments. I wanted to read a little disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this chat discussion are that of the presenter, or not that of itsdiff. And please use your discretion at all times before you follow and practice any of those guidelines that is shared in this interview discussion. The whole idea of this discussion and presentation is to help what we learned, what we experienced, and what we think will help up one to get career enrichment. So that's purely out of community interest. So again, we'll be able to do much more programs. If you have speakers, if you wanted to reach out for topics, please contact itsdiff@gmail.com. Our Facebook presence is itsdiff itsdiff. And also our YouTube channel, please like, share, subscribe. It's very easy. While you're watching, just hit on the subscribe. There are a lot of leadership sessions. So without much ado, thank you so much for Prabhu and Jennifer. Appreciate you being with us. And we will request everybody maintain social distance, and then keep up, keep well. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Prabhu. Bye, Sri. Thank you.
Thanks, Sri.